I had my way about it, they'd all be sent back to Russia or some other unpleasant place.
In Hollywood's golden age, Clark Gable was the embodiment of charm, masculinity, and confidence, the quintessential king of Hollywood. He captivated audiences with his roguish grin, magnetic screen presence, and performances in classics like Gone with the Wind and It Happened One Night. Yet behind the glitz and glamour, Gable's relationships with co-stars were not always smooth. One particularly infamous incident left fellow actor Robert Taylor seething, and he didn't mince words about it. Taylor, known for his quiet professionalism and strong moral code on set, had long respected Gable as a talented performer. But during a single, unforgettable incident on a film set, Gable made a decision that shook Taylor to his core. What happened was so egregious, Taylor later described it as cowardly, a moment that tarnished Gable's otherwise polished reputation in the eyes of his peers. The incident became a cautionary tale in Hollywood, whispered about in private conversations and later chronicled in biographies and memoirs. This story isn't just about a disagreement between two Hollywood legends. It exposes the pressures, egos, and intense dynamics of movie sets during the Golden Age, where reputations were fragile and every action was magnified. For Robert Taylor, the moment was unforgettable, shaping his perception of Gable forever. So what exactly did Clark Gable do to earn the wrath of Robert Taylor? How did this incident affect their relationship and the way others in Hollywood viewed the King of Hollywood? The answer may surprise. Hollywood's golden age was as much about backstage drama as it was about on-screen magic. Clark Gable, often called the King of Hollywood, was the epitome of charisma and star power. Women adored him, studios depended on him, and audiences couldn't get enough of his magnetic performances. But Gable's larger-than-life persona sometimes masked a more complicated reality. He was known for his stubbornness, quick temper, and occasional lapses in judgment. Robert Taylor, another leading man of the era, had always maintained a reputation for professionalism and quiet strength. Unlike Gable, whose image thrived on bravado and charm, Taylor was admired for his steadiness and integrity. When the two actors worked together on a film set, their differences were starkly apparent. Their mutual respect was tentative. Beneath the smiles and public appearances, tension simmered. The incident that sparked Taylor's lasting ire occurred during a high-stakes scene that involved a physically dangerous stunt. In an era before modern safety protocols, actors often faced real risk on set, and trust between performers was essential. According to eyewitness accounts, Gable hesitated at a critical moment, refusing to perform a risky maneuver that had been carefully rehearsed. The stunt itself was relatively safe under the guidance of the stunt coordinators, but the expectation was that Gable, as the star, would set the example. Taylor watched in disbelief. For him, courage wasn't about theatrics or charm. It was about integrity and taking responsibility. Gable's reluctance, even if understandable from a personal safety perspective, crossed a line in Taylor's eyes. He later described the moment as cowardly, not merely because of fear, but because Gable's hesitation jeopardized the flow of the production and the morale of the crew. In an industry where every delay could cost studios thousands of dollars, such behavior was unacceptable. The incident wasn't publicly known at the time. Studios were careful to protect their stars' images, and Gable's reputation as a fearless leading man remained intact with the public. Yet within the confines of the set, the memory of that day lingered. Co-stars and crew members recalled the tension, describing Taylor's disappointment as palpable. He had admired Gable, respected his talent, and even counted him as a friend, but that moment revealed a side of the King of Hollywood that few had seen before. Over time, the story became part of Hollywood lore. Taylor, who was known to be discreet about his grievances, eventually recounted the incident in interviews and biographies, calling it one of the few times he truly questioned Gable's character. The episode highlighted the stark differences between two of the era's biggest stars, one defined by charm and celebrity, the other by discipline and moral fortitude. In the end, the incident didn't ruin Gable's career or Taylor's admiration for the craft of acting, but it left a permanent mark on Taylor's memory. It was a reminder that even legends are human, and that courage on set isn't measured by fame or accolades, but by the choices one makes when the pressure is highest. See even the most devoted classic film fans. The stunt incident didn't just create tension in the moment. It had a lasting impact on the relationship between Robert Taylor and Clark Gable. On a film set, trust and professionalism are crucial. Actors rely on one another not just for performance but for safety. Gable's hesitation, though brief, disrupted that trust, leaving Taylor frustrated and wary of the King of Hollywood in ways that would linger for years. Taylor was not one to hold a grudge lightly, but this moment stuck with him. He later admitted in interviews that Gable's refusal, however minor it might have seemed to others, represented a breach of professional integrity. For Taylor, courage on set wasn't a matter of personal vanity, it was about accountability. By stepping back at that critical moment, Gable had violated an unspoken code that Taylor held sacred. The production itself continued without incident, but the tension remained beneath the surface. Co-stars noticed subtle differences in how Taylor interacted with Gable after the incident. Conversations were polite, but the easy camaraderie of earlier scenes had vanished. Crew members who observed the dynamic described Taylor's disappointment as palpable, though he never publicly shamed Gable during the shoot. Hollywood, after all, was a world of appearances, and Taylor understood the importance of maintaining decorum in front of the cameras. Offset, however, Taylor made no effort to hide his opinion of Gable. Among friends and fellow actors, he was candid, referring to the incident as evidence that Gable, despite his fame, could falter under pressure. The word coward was used more than once, reflecting both Taylor's frustration and his deep sense of principle. To him, the incident wasn't about the stunt itself, it was about character. Courage, he believed, was what separated true professionals from those who relied solely on star power. Interestingly, the incident also shed light on the pressures faced by Gable. At the height of his career, he was expected to perform flawlessly, maintain a flawless public image, and live up to a mythic persona of bravery. Some historians suggest that his hesitation might have stemmed from a combination of fatigue, concern for safety, or even a momentary lapse in judgment, human factors often overlooked by audiences enamored with his legend. Yet to Taylor, these explanations could never excuse the breach of trust. The story traveled quietly through Hollywood for decades. Biographers, historians, and insiders recounted it as a cautionary tale. Even the most celebrated stars could disappoint their peers. It became a reference point for discussions about professionalism, courage, and the unseen struggles behind the silver screen. Taylor, in his measured way, used the incident to illustrate the importance of integrity, while Gable continued his career seemingly unaffected by the whispers. Ultimately, the stunt incident created a permanent, if unspoken, divide between two of Hollywood's brightest stars. It highlighted the gap between public perception and private reality, reminding everyone involved, and those who would later hear the story, that fame does not automatically equate to fearlessness. The events of that day would remain in Taylor's memory forever, a moment when the glimmer of Hollywood glamour collided with the harsh realities of human behavior. After the stunt incident, the relationship between Robert Taylor and Clark Gable never fully recovered, though both continued to flourish professionally. Taylor, known for his disciplined approach to acting and personal ethics, began to see Gable differently, not as a friend or peer, but as a talented actor who could falter when it mattered most. Though he never openly confronted Gable, Taylor's private reflections on the event were candid. He often recounted it to trusted friends as an example of how even the most celebrated stars could disappoint under pressure. For Gable, life on set moved forward much as it always had. His charisma, talent, and public persona shielded him from the repercussions of the incident. Fans and critics alike remained captivated by his performances, and he continued to headline some of Hollywood's biggest films. Yet behind the cameras, the stunt incident had subtly shifted the dynamics on set, especially when Taylor was involved. Directors and producers were aware of the tension, and some speculated that the mutual respect between the two stars had eroded. Despite this, both men continued to command respect in the industry. Taylor's professionalism became a benchmark for others, highlighting his commitment to craft, ethics, and safety. He rarely allowed personal grievances to interfere with work, even when disappointment lingered. Gable, meanwhile, maintained the aura of fearlessness that had made him a household name. Though insiders noted that he occasionally displayed moments of hesitation, a humanizing glimpse behind the myth. Interestingly, the stunt incident shaped how Taylor approached future collaborations. He became even more vigilant about on-set safety and integrity, insisting that co-stars respect both the art and the risks involved. He shared his experiences with younger actors, cautioning them about the importance of courage, not the kind celebrated in tabloids, but the quiet bravery of fulfilling responsibilities even under pressure. In many ways, the incident became a teaching moment, a personal lesson that Taylor carried throughout his career. The divergence between Taylor and Gable also highlighted a broader tension in Hollywood, the difference between talent and character. While Gable embodied charisma and audience appeal, Taylor exemplified the virtues of consistency and dependability. The stunt incident crystallized that divide, offering a rare behind-the-scenes glimpse into the professional ethics that separated some of Hollywood's brightest stars. As decades passed, Taylor's candid accounts of the incident became part of Hollywood lore. Biographers, historians, and film enthusiasts referenced it when examining the dynamics of the Golden Age. It became a symbol of the pressures actors faced, the risks they took, and the fragile balance between celebrity and responsibility. While it did not overshadow Gable's legendary career, it added nuance to his image, reminding the world that even kings of the silver screen were human, susceptible to fear, hesitation, and imperfection. Ultimately, the stunt incident left an indelible mark on Robert Taylor. It shaped his understanding of courage, reinforced his principles, and remained a defining anecdote in his life. For Clark Gable, it was a minor blip in a dazzling career, but for Taylor, it was a lesson that would never fade, a reminder that true bravery extends beyond fame, into the realm of integrity, trust, and responsibility. Decades after the infamous stunt incident, its impact continued to resonate, not just for Robert Taylor and Clark Gable, but for Hollywood at large. While the public remembered Gable as the fearless king of Hollywood, insiders carried a more nuanced memory, a talented star who, in one critical moment, had faltered and altered the perception of his own character among his peers. For Taylor, the experience became a benchmark for evaluating courage and professionalism on any set. Long after the camera stopped rolling, Taylor's reflections on the incident were always measured, yet pointed. He never sought to publicly shame Gable during his lifetime, understanding the delicate balance between loyalty, discretion, and honesty in Hollywood's tightly knit social circles. In private conversations and interviews, however, he recounted the event candidly, describing it as a rare but unforgettable lapse in courage. The word coward was not used lightly. It reflected Taylor's deep-seated belief in responsibility, respect, and the unspoken code of conduct among actors. The story eventually became part of Hollywood lore, shared among actors, directors, and historians as an example of the hidden dramas behind the silver screen. It illustrates how the pressures of stardom, while glamorous on the surface, could reveal cracks in even the most iconic personas. Directors who knew both men often cited the incident as evidence that personal integrity sometimes mattered as much as talent in navigating the film industry. Gable's hesitation served as a cautionary tale. No matter how beloved or accomplished, stars were still human, capable of fear and error. For Taylor, the incident reinforced the values he carried throughout his career. He became an advocate for safety, preparation, and trust on set, emphasizing that bravery was not just about performing stunts or playing heroic roles. It was about honoring commitments and ensuring the well-being of everyone involved in a production. His approach influenced co-stars, younger actors, and crew members, shaping a legacy that extended beyond his performances to the culture of professionalism he championed. Interestingly, the story also shaped public fascination with the private lives of Hollywood legends. Fans and historians alike were intrigued by the idea that behind the glamorous facade lay moments of tension, fear, and disappointment. It humanized icons like Gable and Taylor, reminding audiences that even celebrated figures faced moral and emotional challenges. The stunt incident became more than just gossip. It became a lens through which to examine courage, character, and the reality of life behind the camera. In the end, the tale of Robert Taylor and Clark Gable is both cautionary and illuminating. It highlights the delicate interplay between fame, talent, and integrity, showing how one incident can shape perceptions for decades. While Gable's career remained illustrious and Taylor's reputation as a consummate professional endured, the incident left an indelible mark in Hollywood history. A reminder that courage is measured not by applause, but by actions when it truly counts. Ultimately, it is a story of two actors whose paths intersected in a defining moment, leaving lessons that extend far beyond the set. Courage, trust, and responsibility are as critical behind the scenes as they are on screen, and for Robert Taylor, that one moment with Clark Gable became a touchstone for understanding the true cost of fame and the meaning of professional integrity in the golden age of Hollywood.